Okay, we're recording.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. We are going to wait just a few more moments to let everyone enter into our webinar this evening. Thank you for your patience. We will begin in about 60 seconds. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate your attendance at our Return to School Plan question and answer session. Nicole Bostel, our head of communications, will be going through the plan with us this evening. And we have administrators and many folks of our admin staff standing by to answer questions that you may have. So please listen to Nicole's presentation. We will answer your questions. If we don't get to them in the chat box, we will answer them at the end of the presentation. Thank you for being here. And Nicole, take it away.
Okay. And I'm just going to give me just a second. I'm going to try and share my screen here. Okay. Can you all see my screen? Okay. All right. So this is the abridged version to our Return to STEM, Return to School plan. This will be available as a PDF on our website. As you can see, I hyperlinked the original plan right there where it says released Friday, July 31st. So you will be able to reference the original plan. This one is going to have some updated information based on the feedback that we've been receiving. Okay. So just to go over a quick overview, this should not be very long because we want to leave time for people to ask questions and so that we can answer them. We're going to go over cohorts, how they're being developed and how we're going to communicate them. We're going to clarify a little bit on the different schedules between orientation and the instructional schedules, and then what to expect as we return to learning. And then again, remind everybody that we need for you to submit your response to the academic plan sign-up form. So let's get into cohorts, development, and communication. So we wanted to provide you a little bit of an example of how we're breaking out the cohorts. So if you were to look at Ms. Bench's first grade class, we are dividing up the class between the hybrid students and the virtual students. And then as you can see, between those two groups, they are going to be broken up into cohort A and B, and then cohort A and B. So the A's will match up together and the B's will match up together. So each cohort will have a blend of 100% online as well as hybrid students who are in person and virtually online. So this is just to clarify a little bit of how we're breaking out the cohorts. This is going to be a little bit different than how DCSD is doing it. So we will communicate more once we get all of the data back from the academic plan sign-up form when that closes on Thursday. Our team will get to start working on that, and then we'll communicate more about cohorts and which one you're in as we go into next week. Okay, so why are we doing this? We wanted to provide as much flexibility as we can in the event that a family needs to move in between the academic plans, which are hybrid or in person. Obviously, our goal is to be back at some point as quickly as possible to 100% in-person learning. However, that's not something that we can do at this time. So this is what our plan is going forward. And we believe that the way in which we're developing these cohorts allows for us the flexibility for our families and the flexibility once we make that transition back to full-time in-person learning. So, and as you can see, if a person opts for 100% virtual online learning and then chooses to attend in person, while we are still kind of in this this time period, they just must attend on their cohort days. We had a couple of questions about that. Okay, so how will cohorts be created? Again, as we continue here, once the academic plan selection sign up closes at midnight on Thursday, the cohort team will begin working on creating the cohorts on Friday. That's this Friday. What we know right now is that cohort information will be available in the student schedule in Infinite Campus next week. If that changes, we will communicate that out. We will always send out an IC message. So next week, once we know that the cohorts have been assigned and they're ready to be communicated, we'll notify families where you can find that. Just as a heads up, if you see a cohort in there before you've received an email from us, that may be because DCSD has already cohorted some students. We will notify you once you are in the correct cohort. So just keep an eye on that. Once you receive the email, log into IC, and then you can check what cohort you're in, okay? If a cohort needs to be adjusted for either medical, childcare, or carpool reasons, there will be a form that will be provided in that email that we send out about cohorts are now available, okay? And that would be how you would then notify us if you need to make a cohort change, okay? Now let's jump quickly into the schedules. And again, this is providing additional clarity based off of the original plan that we released on Friday, okay? So what to expect for kindergarten, there are some slight modifications to this. We wanted to align our K through 12 as much as we could to the same schedule. So as you can see, on Monday, there will be groups of in-person hybrid students only. Then on Wednesday, there will also be groups of in-person hybrid students only. On Tuesday, will be only the students that are 100% virtual, okay? And this is just the orientation week. This allows for the kiddos to come in, be in smaller groups, meet with their teachers, and then get familiar with the school. And the reason why we swapped out Tuesday and Wednesday is so that it aligns a little bit better with our the rest of the elementary and the secondary schedule as well. And you'll see that as we get closer, as we jump into the next slides, okay? So when it comes to kindergarten orientation, you will receive that information from us via either an IC message, or the teacher for kindergarten may reach out directly to your family with that information. So what to expect on Thursday, August 20th. There will be no instruction this day, or there will be no meetings or anything like that that you have to do with your kindies on Thursday, August 20th. This is a day where teachers will be working to assign students to classes and then creating the cohorts. Okay, so and then you'll be provided the information of which cohort your kindergartner is in on Thursday, August 20th, once they have created those. Okay, and then Friday, August 21st, is going to be the first day of virtual learning just for our kindies. Okay, and this will allow them the opportunity to actually be in the virtual setting with a teacher that is going to be their teacher for the school year. Okay, and again, more information on this will be shared in the email that you get once the cohorts are determined. So now we're going to jump into what to expect for grades 1 through 5, and this is orientation week. So Monday and Tuesday, you'll see we've updated this a little bit more for clarity. There will be group 1 of cohort A will meet in the morning on Monday and Tuesday. Group 2 of cohort A will meet in the afternoon on Monday and Tuesday. So what this does is this allows our students 2 opportunities to be in the school with their teachers, familiarize themselves with the school, get comfortable. It's going to look different. The hallways are going to be different, the way in which they get to the restrooms, how they handle lunch. how they access their classrooms, all of that's going to be different. So we want to make sure that we give our elementary school students and our new students especially the opportunity to get familiar. So that's why we're having students come twice, back to back, and that aligns with our secondary schedule as well. And then you'll see group 1 of cohort B will meet Wednesday and Thursday morning, and group 2 of cohort B will meet Wednesday and Thursday afternoon. And then on Friday, this will be for both the cohort A and B's of just our 100% virtual online learners, okay? As we get closer and as the cohorts are determined, we will provide more individualized plans for your students' cohort, what that looks like, their daily schedule, so that this makes a little bit more sense, okay? So now, elementary schedule, this is now going to be grades K through 5, and this is beginning August 24th. This is going to be the first week of instruction, okay? And so hopefully this schedule, it's the same as it was before, but we wanted to try and maybe streamline it a little bit better so it made a little bit more sense. So cohort A will come in on Mondays and Tuesdays for in-person learning. At the same time, cohort B will be doing virtual online learning. On Wednesdays in the morning, cohort B will come in to do their in-person learning, that's Wednesdays and Thursdays, and cohort A will transition to virtual online learning on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Then every student will be virtual online learning on Friday, okay? Now, the 100% virtual students will follow the same schedule based on their cohort. So if they are in cohort B, they're obviously gonna do cohort B, virtual learning. It's all at the same time, all synchronous. So every single day, virtual learning is gonna happen for our virtual learners, okay? So there's a link there to the elementary bell schedule. As we get closer, that will start to fill in as far as the specifics of what's going to be taught in which block. Right now, when you open it, you'll see there's blocks in there of time, and that will fill in with subject matters as we get closer. So now we're going to jump into secondary. This is Spartan Lunch, and this is for new to STEM secondary students only. They will have the opportunity to participate virtually to learn about STEM expectations, culture, and introduction to the new school year. This is going to be to prepare only new to STEM secondary students. So if you already have a student in secondary at STEM, or they were at STEM last year transitioning into secondary, you do not need to do this. This is just for any student who is new to STEM going into grades 6 through 12, okay? What to expect, this is orientation week. We just wanted to go ahead and provide this slide one more time so that we make sure that we clarify this. Students at the hybrids, you can see there, we have a portion of cohort A and portion of pardon me, sorry. The cohort A's will meet on Monday and Tuesday, and this gives them the opportunity to meet with both their Blue Day and their Gold Day teachers. The cohorts will be broken up into two portions, and that information will be communicated to you what group or what portion you're in and when you should attend. Cohort B, the same will apply for you, but it'll be on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So this gives students the opportunity to meet with both sets of their teachers on a Blue and a Gold Day. And then that Friday is going to be a day for virtual online learners. And one thing that we want to make sure that we point out, this is orientation week. So this is not going to be any instruction. This is an opportunity for students, again, to come in, familiarize themselves with the building, which direction they're supposed to go down in the hallway, which bathrooms are available to them, where they're going to eat their lunch, those kinds of things, and really just give them a feel for the building. So some of it will look different, and so we want to make sure students feel comfortable as they come in, okay? So again, no real instruction is going to happen this week. This is just orientation. Okay. So now we'll jump into, this is going to be once we start on August 24th. This is going to be what the hybrid model and the virtual online learning looks like. So we kind of went over this in the previous, when we released the plan. Nothing has really changed here. We just wanted to provide you another opportunity to see this since we're kind of doing this sequentially. And then this virtual online learning group, those who are doing 100% online learning, this is going to be what their schedule is. And so they follow the same schedule as those who are doing hybrid, but we just wanted to provide this as this is what it looks like. Okay, and then there's a link to the Blue Gold Advisory Calendar that you can click on so that you can see what times the periods are. Okay, so return to learning, what to expect and how to prepare. The first day for both academic plans following the mandatory orientation week is Monday, August 24th, and this is the first day of instruction. So there were some dates that were mentioned in a couple of weeks ago about the 13th and 14th. You don't need to worry about those dates anymore. So orientation is the week from the 17th through the 21st, and our first day of instruction is Monday, August 24th. Okay, what to expect in person. We've had a lot of questions about what's the procedure if we have a student that either is a presumptive or has tested positive. So we are going to follow the procedures that are outlined by DCSD. There is a link in this, which you can find in the PDF of the presentation once we post it. You can also find it directly on DCSD's website. And this will outline exactly what we're going to follow in each one of those different scenarios. It'll also talk about what happens if a teacher tests positive, or the difference between isolation and quarantine. So I would highly recommend that you look at that. I don't want to go too much into that because DCSD has really mapped it out very well, and that's a resource for you to look at there. If a student feels ill or has a fever above 100, do not come to school. Okay, that is a big, 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 big ask, and that we are asking of all of our parents. Okay. We've established quarantine rooms in both elementary and middle school for students that are ill to stay in until a parent or guardian can come and pick them up. This is outside of the normal clinic. So this is a separate area where if any student feels that they might be sick with the symptoms of COVID, they will go into this room, and then we'll contact parents. And we had a couple of questions about this as well. There are no plans on conducting any COVID-19 testing at school. DCSD has outlined where COVID testing places are for both staff and students. So I would visit their website and look at where those are. So let's talk about technology. We want to reiterate the fact that we only have a limited number of Chromebooks that are available to be signed out. There's a sign-up form there that if you are in need of a Chromebook that you can complete that. Again, this PDF of these slides will be available. The link is there. And we'll post the link on the website as well. That link to laptop requirements has been updated to include some information about iPads for kindergartners. So please check that out. We had some questions about that. And then we had students in grades 1 through 5, when they're in person learning, they will have access to Chromebooks, but they will not be able to take those Chromebooks with them. Because they need to be made available for the other students when they come in for in-person learning. So you will need to have technology at home for students to be able to access virtual learning at home. So what to expect childcare, we had a lot of questions about this. We have been asked to share Amy Dupay's information. So if you have direct questions about BASE, you can access them through that link. You can also email Amy with any questions that you have. And she can answer those directly. Since BASE is run by DCSD, they have their own policies and procedures that they are following. We will have after school care, and the times are from 2:50 to 6 o'clock Monday through Thursday. You can email Sarah Phelps with any questions, and you can also check out the enrichment website. We are constantly updating our website, so as soon as we get information, we are updating our pages. Okay. As far as enrichment goes, we had a lot of questions about this. The programming will be available this fall, some in person and some online. You can check out the website. The most up-to-date listings are there. Most of them will start the week of Labor Day, September 7th or later. And then you can view the options and enroll on the website, or you can also reach out to Sarah Phelps with questions. She is going on maternity leave, and we are working on her her fill-in, her stand-in. As soon as we have that, we will communicate who that is, so that way you can direct any questions to that person. Okay, next steps. What's left to be done before we open? What we need from our families. Please, please, please encourage your students to start getting familiar with wearing their masks. As we mentioned in Friday's plan, the masks are required for all staff and students, unless there is a medical or unless it impedes students' ability for learning, but you do have to provide a doctor's note explaining both of those scenarios. So again, encourage proper procedure for hand washing and social distancing. That will really help us when we're in school. And then, as always, remember to communicate with your student's teacher as best as you can. Lastly, academic plan sign up. This is the form that went out on Friday. It's also been emailed to you as a reminder on Monday, and I'll send it again tonight. This is a different form from the learning preference form. So if at all you had filled out the learning preference form, or if you had emailed Stephanie Webb directly, we are asking you to now please complete this form, because this is how you will sign up for either one of those academic plans. This is going to close tomorrow night at midnight, okay? That way we can start to create the cohorts. If we do not have everybody's selection, and it makes it very difficult for us to create the cohorts. So it's very important that you fill that out. And then again, as always, any feedback you can submit to our feedback form. I am answering those every single day. So, and that's what we have right now. I'm gonna turn my screen back over to the group, and we are going to open it up for questions.
Nicole, I just wanted to point out, unfortunately, I apologize everyone, we weren't able to get the question and answer section working, the question and answer feature. And so we got hundreds of questions to the panelists while Nicole was presenting. So we will go through and answer as many questions as we can. We did try to answer many of them, but they were coming in so quickly, I'm not sure we even had time to read them all. So we will answer as many as we can right now. I highly encourage you to go back and look at this slide deck and look at the recording again. Many of the questions are linked or answered somewhere in this presentation. So if you're needing additional clarity, this recording as well as the slides will become available for you. And I again ask you to just please have patience with us. We are moving as fast as we possibly can as we work through all of these decisions and attempting to accommodate everyone's needs. Our absolute goal is to be as flexible as possible for every single family and every single student. So that will take us a little bit of time, but we are doing our best to be sure that we meet your needs. So we will turn it back over to Nicole, but thank you for the questions, and we will start working through those right now. And feel free to ask a question during this session as well. Thank you.
Yes, so you can feel free to raise your hand. We can promote you to speak if you'd like to ask your question live. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
Can I answer two very common questions real quick?
Sure.
For everybody? Okay, so I've seen lots and lots of questions about AP and CE courses, and I completely understand the stress that that involves with making a decision for choosing the hybrid option versus the remote option. We have been in communication with ACC about the CE courses, and we are fully approved to deliver all that content for AP and CE remotely as well as in person. So it really shouldn't play that much of a factor in your family's decision for which type of learning you choose. Your student may learn better if they're in person with that hands-on, but again, you have to make the decision that is best for your family, and those courses are fully accessible for the remote option as well. The one other thing I wanted to talk about was schedule changes. I saw several of those come in just a second ago. So when schedules are going to be released, we will send out an email and we will send out directions on how to request a schedule change at that time. There'll be a Google form that students will submit, and it'll go directly to the counselors, and counselors will process them one at a time in the order that they come in. So I hope that helps.
Yes, all right. If there's nothing else from the panelists, I'll go ahead and approve the first person to speak. Okay. Yulia, you are permitted to speak.
Yeah, hi. So I have basically two questions. As we start later this year, will our breaks and end of the year moved further or not? Maybe like breaks cut it to compensate school year, actually.
Yeah, so Dr. Raymond, would you like to take that one?
We do not have plans to change the rest of the school year at this time. We are waiting for further guidance from the Colorado Department of Education to determine if we need to make changes. At this time, we are confident in our calendar moving forward. No changes at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And another one question. So cohort will be, students will be cohorted by their like math and English level, or inside each cohort it will be different level of kids and they will be worked individually with teachers? How you will coordinate it?
We're still working through the cohort process. We're trying to accommodate as many folks' needs as possible. If you have a specific request around carpool or sibling needs, those types of things, please be sure to put the request into the form, and then we will do our best to accommodate as many folks as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Eloise, you should be permitted to talk. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move down to Gurpreet.
Hello?
Go ahead, Eloise.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you couldn't hear me before. My question was about face masks versus face shields. I know that STEM has face shields available for students, and so can students, specifically elementary school students, wear the face shields in lieu of face masks, or do they need to wear both?
So as we included that in Friday's presentation, the requirement is a face mask. The only way that you could wear a face shield is if you provide a doctor's note that indicates a face shield is suitable for the student in regards to medical or learning needs. So, and that was that's a DCSD requirement. They outline that a little bit more on their website.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Gurpreet, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that name correctly, but
you're fine. No worries on that. So my original question was academic plan sign up, but then I pulled it back up and I have filled that because that's where you select whether you want to offer hybrid versus virtual.
Yes.
But then you also talked about learning preference form. What is the other form? I don't think we filled that out.
That's fine. The learning preference form was sent out about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and that was when we were looking at trying to provide a full-time in-person option. That currently is not an option right now. So the learning preference form was what a lot of families filled out to give us data so that we knew how to go ahead and start planning. We are still holding on to that data because we know that there were a lot of families who either wanted full-time in-person or virtual 100%. And so we're still holding on to that data so that in the event we are allowed to transition back to 100% full-time in-person learning. There was a lot of really good data from that form that we're using for kind of like plan C for when we can initiate plan C. So does that make sense?
Understood. And that makes sense. So another question on like face masks, I'm going to couple them together so you can answer them all at once. Is it parents' responsibility to send a stash of masks when the kiddo is going to school? So if they drop or lose it, they have a backup, or would the school at least have a backup supply of disposable masks? Like, what's the responsibility of parents?
We would ask that parents put their child in a mask as they get out of the car so that children have that mask on as they're walking into school. I have seen several options of glasses holders for students to use with masks if you're fearful that your child will take it off or lose it, those types of things. We will have masks available if necessary, but we would prefer that parents put their child in a mask as they come out of their car. That way we're keeping everyone safe.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Let's, looks like Jamie, I'm gonna go ahead and promote you to speak. Just go ahead and unmute your mic.
Got it. I was just wondering, because I haven't read when you do the cohorts, I'm just assuming that you'll group siblings in the same cohorts so that, you know, we have a student in elementary, one in middle school, and one in high school. I just want to make sure that they would get grouped to go to school on the same days.
Yes,
that is the plan.
It is safest for siblings to be grouped together. That way they're a cohort at home and they're a cohort at school. So the default will be to group siblings together. Great question.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Okay. Let's see, Kara, I'm going to go ahead and promote you to speak.
Oh, hello. My question is, I've got a kindergartner, but there might be other people wondering this too, for like the Chromebooks and stuff. If we're providing, because everybody has to provide their own at home, is it easier for the teachers if we send that with them to school so that they just have their own personal computer or iPad so that the school doesn't have to provide it?
So I'm going to ask Ms. Kowaleski to jump in on that one and provide some feedback. You're muted.
Currently, our kindergartners are all working on iPads or a tablet, and we have enough for each class. So I think it's a great idea that they are already working on a Chromebook and getting used to that at home, and definitely during their hybrid or virtual days. But we do have enough tablets for them to use while in class. So thank you.
Okay. Looks like Steve and Lori, I'm going to go ahead and permit you to talk.
Great. Two questions. I wanted to understand the virtual online day. So I know last year it was slides with links and some Zoom meetings. Is that the same approach, or is it going to be a live class session that our kids are going to have to kind of follow along?
Yeah, so I spoke a little bit about this in the video presentation on Friday. Essentially what's going to happen is there's going to be kind of some synchronous and asynchronous learning that's happening throughout the day and throughout the periods. As we get closer and the teachers are now in their professional development week, they're meeting as teams, they're building out what the plan looks like for their class so that they are providing virtual access to students at the same time that they're also providing in-class, in-person instruction. So there's going to be some things. The example that I gave would be if they are doing an instruction for, let's say, the first 20 minutes of class, that's a live instruction to students. They will set up a Zoom. The link will be there. Students will log in. They'll be in a waiting room, and as soon as the teacher's ready, they'll let them into the class, and they can do live instruction with both in-person students and those virtually.
But will there be an EA monitoring the virtual piece so that, students are, if they have questions, they're, stuck, will somebody be responding to that?
So once the teacher is done with instruction and the students in class will start to move towards their kind of independent work, the teacher will then move to do answering questions to those students who are online. Additionally, teachers will be available throughout the day so that if the student has more questions outside of the content that was either provided via video, because there's also video content that goes along that students can reference afterwards, or the instructions for the lessons, then they can answer those questions as they come in.
Okay, and then I have a question about the hybrid model. So I know that there's another Douglas County School District charter school that's starting with the hybrid, but they're going to 100% in person in September. Is there a plan to reassess when we can move out of the hybrid model into in-person learning?
So we're gonna go with this plan the way we have it right now. In the event that Douglas County makes a pivot and says we can now start offering in-person learning, we do have a component of the plan that we are working on that allows us to transition back into in-person learning full-time. But that's not something that we want to share with the community just yet, because we feel like at this point it would just be way too confusing. There's so much information that we are hitting families with right now that if we saw that we were pivoting in that direction, we would be releasing that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and permit you to talk.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering if we wanted to like request, like if we had one of those cohorts that really worked better for our schedule, would it be possible to like request one or the other?
So right now, as you fill out the academic plan, we're just asking for carpool. And then for the 9th through 12th grades, if your student's taking CE, that really helps us to really create the framework of the cohort to start with. As we mentioned in the slides, once the cohorts are released, we're gonna put a form that goes just to those hybrid families to complete if they need to adjust their cohort due to either medical, childcare, or carpool issues that maybe they didn't know about when they filled out the form initially.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. All right, Shannon, I'm gonna go ahead and permit you to talk.
Hi, thank you. So my question is about the face mask requirement. Will the neck gaiters be permitted for elementary and middle school students?
So as long as it is a face, so if it covers the nose and the mouth and mimics what a face mask does, you are okay with that.
Perfect. And then my second question is, do you guys have the time slots for the week of the 17th through the 21st? Because I know there's like an AM session and a PM session. Do we know what those time slots are?
Not yet. What we want to do is we want to try and build the cohorts as closely as possible to what they're going to look like for what the instructional week looks like once that starts on the 24th. That way, students are familiar with who's in their cohort. They're getting to know who their classmates are, and then if we have to make any tweaks, then we can do that during that orientation week as we head into the week of August 24th. So once we close the form on Thursday night and the cohort team starts working, and we release that to families, you'll start to see what that looks like for orientation week so you can get familiar, because it's also helpful for the parents too, so that they can get familiar with what is their schedule going to look like and how they can make adjustments.
Oh, I just meant like as far as, do we know, will it be like a 7:50 to 12 and then a break and then the next group would start like 1 to 2:50 or something like that? Just so parents, I'm a full-time working parent, so I need to be able to like figure out childcare and how to get them there those days.
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood your question. So as the teachers are meeting right now during their virtual professional development, they are working on what that looks like, how orientation week is going to look. They're working with our leadership team on what that's going to look like and how they're developing what they're going to be going over with students. So the expectations, how they're going to go around the building, and they're going to be breaking out those time periods. So we don't know what those look like exactly yet.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Sammy, you are, go ahead and, hold on. See if I can, okay. Angela Braga, go ahead.
Hi there, thank you. You mentioned that you'll be following the district guidance on whether we can come fully back in person. I wondered what criteria will be used to decide whether we have to go entirely online. I assume if there's outbreaks or, increased infections in the community, maybe that might happen. How are you all thinking about that?
So again, we're going to use kind of the direction of DCSD. If they make the call to go 100% online virtual, we're going to follow that same model, which we already have built in, and we'll just transition to everybody will be virtual 100%. They are kind of putting the policies and procedures, they're putting the guardrails in place that we are working within.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, Sammy, I'm going to go ahead and permit you to speak. Sammy, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I know Nicole said that teachers can answer online questions throughout the day. How realistic is that when they have kids in front of them that they should be, you know, focused on?
Yeah, so the way we're kind of, then obviously teachers are going to be building out their day, and they're the experts in how they run their classroom. But when you think about, if you go back to how the cohorts are being divided, you have smaller groups of students in person. So let's say you have somewhere between 8 to 10 students that are in your class at that particular time. You get through instruction. They would normally break off in a normal environment and do independent work. So as the students are doing independent work, the teacher is now transitioning to work with those, any specific questions that are coming in online. Some teachers do have teaching assistants. We do have instructional assistants. So if there is a teacher that is noticing they need some additional assistance, they will reach out to Ms. Kowaleski or Mrs. MH or Mr. Hoffman and say, I need some additional assistance here.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I jump in real quick to answer a question that is good for the group? I think I've had a couple of questions come in about learning plans. So I'm Liz Dugan. I'm the Assistant Director of Special Programs, and I oversee students on learning plans. And I just want to let you know that I am working very closely with the district on how to best service our students on plans. And we have very clear guidance on how to best serve our students, whether they are hybrid or remote. So basically, the kind of rule of thumb is that hybrid students will be serviced when they are here in the school so that they can get that in-person, face-to-face help, whereas our remote students will receive very similar service to what they received in the spring with that one-on-one support via Zoom, since they're not here in person. But as for accommodations, those are absolutely still going to be in place. Our teachers will provide accommodations just like normal if we were here 100% in person. So please know that we are working to ensure the success of every single student. And if you have any concerns at all about your student on a plan, please do reach out so that I can help support you guys.
Nicole, I was going to jump back in on Ms. Campbell's question. So teachers are going to be planning their lessons as if everyone were online. So if you are a hybrid, if your child is attending a hybrid lesson, they will be receiving that direct instruction online. So it would be a pre-recorded lesson or some sort of activity that the students are getting in person at the same time. So that the teacher will be providing that direct instruction to their small group of students in person. And just as Nicole said, they will then begin their independent work, and then the students will be in a waiting room. It'll be a scheduled time as opposed to the spring when there wasn't a necessity to check in through the day. It'll be a scheduled math time or a scheduled reading time or science or engineering time. So they will then wait in a waiting room. They will join the group. The teacher will be able to address and work with that group of hybrid students in their small group while the in-person is working online and answer those questions. I don't know that it would be a time that a teacher or a parent could get on and ask questions, but it's definitely a time for that teacher to interact with the students at home.
It looks like Ms. Kowaleski may have frozen.
And that will continue out the subject. So you'll be receiving a student.
Okay.
Nicole, I'm going to jump in too, just to kind of add on, because I'm seeing a lot of the same questions come up. And so speaking to the professional development that the teachers are going through or participating in these next few days and next week, this idea of a flipped classroom is really what the teachers will be using. So building on what Lynn Ann was just sharing there, just want to reassure you that the teachers are learning the best practices for remote learning and also the best practices for a flipped classroom. So they will be gathering and practicing those skills for how do I work to make sure I'm meeting the needs of the students that are in the classroom and also meeting the needs of the students while they're at home.
Thank you. Okay, Randy, go ahead and permit you to talk.
Liz may have answered part of my question, but like for the students with like IEP, if they have speech therapy or one-on-one sessions, are those planned to be done the day that they're in school learning or a separate day?
That's exactly right, Randy. We are going to focus on providing that in-person service as much as possible and support. So absolutely, we will schedule service minutes around when students are in school.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Absolutely.
All right. Sunita, I'm going to go ahead and permit you to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, question was around the schedule for the week for working parents. So how are the teachers planning their upcoming week? Would there be anything sent out on the week before, or like maybe say Thursday for the next week, that this is all will be covered in the next week in terms of learning? I just feel like it would make life easier for working parents to see that firsthand ahead of time, what will be covered, and if there is anything they can prep over the weekend or things like that.
So I can speak to at least the Friday portion of what the schedule looks like is where our teachers are doing all of their preparation and planning, as well as getting professional development for areas where they feel like they might need additional support. And that is to always prep for the following week. That Friday is also the opportunity for students to reach out and get one-on-one time with their teacher if needed, if they need additional assistance. Or even that could be the time where students reach out to teachers and say, hey, I want to get prepped for next week. What are we going to be working on? So teachers will be working on those on Friday. They will be planning. I'm sure as we head into next week and the teachers are going through their professional development and they start laying out their classes, they're going to be planning long term. And so I really value that feedback that you just gave. I'm going to pass that along to our head of Mrs. Mandrala and also to Dr. Johnson, that they can share that with the teachers to make sure that reminding them that communicating enough in advance is very important and valuable to our families.
Appreciate it. And another question I had was ALP, and somebody commented on my question that it will be exactly the same, because my son was in first grade, but he was going to second grade for math. So how would that be done if since we've chosen e-learning?
It should still be the same. Ms. Kowaleski, I might need some help with the actual scheduling, but our intention is certainly to still allow students to change math levels as needed and everything like that.
So would his teacher be working separately with him on assignments, or he won't? I'm guessing he won't be going to another teacher for just for math e-learning classroom, would he?
Correct. At this time, students need to stay within their cohort, but I know our teachers currently are amazing at providing that differentiation for all subjects. So at this point, for safety reasons, they have to remain with their cohort. As teachers become more proficient and skilled with online learning and managing online and hybrid, there is that possibility, and I don't want to promise it, but there's a possibility that students could be in class online, not go to the next grade above, but maybe access what's going on in the next grade above's math class. However, at this point, we need to ensure that our teachers are providing and focusing on within the class and offering that differentiation to keep our students safe and providing top-notch education in the class.
And one last one, if you guys don't mind. So there will be few recorded sessions that students will be listening to, but the one where teachers would actually be giving them instructions while they are on Zoom session or things like that, would those sessions be recorded if there are any instructions that kids miss or things like that?
Yes, Zoom sessions. Zoom sessions will not be recorded, but there will be pre-recorded lessons provided to students that they will be able to access at other times. However, we are asking for our students to check in if they're hybrid or online during the subject time that every other student in person is following. So if the math block is from 9 to 10 o'clock, that is when we ask that students at home are accessing that math instruction and then checking in with their teachers at that set time within that 9 to 10 o'clock math block.
Okay.
So, Nicole,
right.
Yes.
may I just say a couple of things? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off.
No.
I just wanted to say there seems to be some thoughts, and I think it's probably because this is a DCSD model, but we do not have any teachers who will be doing only online teaching. So all of our teachers will be spending some of their time with students in class and then also dealing with answering questions and helping students online. So there will be a combination for every teacher. I know some other schools, particularly DCSD schools, have assigned teachers to be only online, but our teachers and our teams felt that that flexibility of being able to interact with students in person and online would be helpful for their overall outcomes as far as learning throughout the beginning of this school year. And we took we went to great lengths to make sure that our teachers' voices were heard in that planning and development. And we just want to make sure that everyone understands that all of our teachers will be doing in-person and online teaching for our students. I also wanted to suggest, Nicole, perhaps we have these last few folks that have their hands up put their questions into the chat, and I would suggest that we create just one long FAQ document with all of these questions from the chat box, because we're getting some confusion. People can't see all of the answers, and I think there are so many questions that it's causing some difficulty. So I think we could just save this transcript of the chat box and then create a FAQ that would allow everyone to see the answers to all of the questions. Yes. And maybe that would prevent some of the rehashing of multiple questions. Would that be okay?
Yes, and additionally, as always, the feedback form is a really great way for you to submit these questions too. So we have a couple more minutes, so I'm going to try and get through a few more of these questions. Doug, you are permitted to talk.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I will try to just keep it to one question, and you guys may have covered it. I just was double checking on it. How are we trying to adhere to the guidelines for social distancing within class, as well as like during lunch and at recess for the students that are in the hybrid model?
Yes, so classrooms have been reconfigured for social distancing. So anywhere between, I believe, 3 to 6 feet. I think there were some various depending on the age and the number of students. And so classrooms have been reconfigured. The hallways have been reconfigured. In some instances, you can only go down one direction on certain hallways. In larger portions, we are doing 2-directional. However, there is a space in between so that students are separated. And with there being less students in school, we will have, as they move throughout the hallway, they will be going single file, and we'll have additional supports trying to help students remember social distance guidelines. We have signage that's going up in the school as well, in bathrooms, in the cafeteria. We've hired additional custodial staff that will be strictly there to clean high-touch areas throughout the day. And that's in addition to the custodial staff that we already have during the afternoon that's there to assist with, you know, if we ever have a biohazard cleanup or just anything that needs to be dealt with. So those are some of the additional things that we're implementing.
Thanks so much.
Yep. Okay. Carolyn, you can go ahead and speak. Remember to unmute your microphone.
Hi, thanks. I had 2 quick questions. One was, so I had put in a request for Chromebook, for borrowing a Chromebook because we don't have a good option at home right now. So I was just wondering when we would know about that, because I think if we do need to purchase one, we'd need to get on that pretty soon.
Yes, so I will reach out to our head of IT tomorrow. I know he's managing that form, and just kind of get an update on what his timeline is, and communicate with him. He will have your contact information, so they will reach out to you as soon as they're ready with pickup and all of that. They are working right now to get our teachers all of their equipment, and they're also working on making sure that we're ready with access to the building as well. So that might have been why they haven't reached out yet, but I'll work with them tomorrow.
Okay, and my other question was just, I guess, kind of about attendance. I feel like, you know, other people have mentioned similar questions, but we're also two parents trying to work full-time jobs, trying to deal with two young elementary school kids. So I imagine there are going to be times where we just aren't able to get the kids logged on to some of the virtual sessions. So I was, I guess, wondering how that was going to be handled.
Again, we strongly encourage that open communication with the teacher directly to say, hey, if you know in advance, hey, he's supposed to be in class tomorrow, just a heads up, he might not be in class, and then follow the standard attendance procedure that is outlined in the student parent handbook. So that's still going to apply. If your student is supposed to be in person and can't make it, essentially you would call them in and say they're not coming in person, and then they'll be doing their virtual online learning at that point. And then that the normal policy of when they are not able to be in school then applies. Okay, and that's outlined in that student parent handbook.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, Kristen?
Yeah, I just had two quick questions.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, is that?
Go ahead, can you
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I have a kindergartner coming in. Will they be going to a half day either Monday or that Wednesday of the orientation meeting, or both those days?
No, it's either or, and you'll get that information once we have the data back from the academic plan sign up.
Okay, and then also, I feel like in preschool he got a cold that lingered for like weeks. Will he be able to switch to all in online learning and get the attendance requirement he needs?
Yes, as we get closer, like once we get through orientation week, we'll be providing additional information as to what the process is on how you switch between if something happens, if somebody in your family gets sick and you need to be 100% remote or virtual online learning, there'll be a procedure on how you just notify us of that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. JJ?
Hi, I was just wondering about the school supplies. I don't know if they gave any information about that yet, but will there be any school supplies?
What grade?
Seventh.
7th grade?
Yeah.
Were you going to say something, Dr. Raymond? Sorry.
I was just going to say, all you need in middle school, JJ, is your computer and your charger.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking part, JJ. We really appreciate it. Okay, Sarah? Sarah, you should be able to talk. Go ahead and unmute your microphone. There you go.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So my question is, do you have any idea how many students will be assigned in each class? Like the number?
We don't have an exact number to that yet. When we see the final data on Friday morning, we'll have a better idea. We're certainly trying to stick as closely to kind of the recommended range as possible, which could be anywhere between 8 to 10. But we definitely don't want to give you a final number yet because we have to look at the data.
Thank you. Another question.
Yep.
How can we find out about the carpooling?
So on our website, there is some more information under the parent tab, and I believe it's under Get Informed. You'll see information about the transportation management plan, about Driveline, And then I believe there's also some information there about how to sign up for a carpool. That's done through Way to Go. You can sign up through that. I've also seen families on the parent Facebook page groups who are communicating with one another and arranging their carpools outside of that system.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Nikki Baird.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have two questions. One is, this is for high school, for classes that are supposed to have labs. How are you handling labs for kids that are doing the online or virtual?
Dr. Johnson, would you be able to field that one?
Sure. Right now, as we're planning these things out, we want to provide options for kids to be able to come in and participate in those labs. The important communication and scheduling requirement would be if you're attending, you would attend on the cohort A that you're assigned to or the B. So even if you're a virtual student, you still will be assigned to a cohort for opportunities like that so that you are free and available to come in during those days.
Okay, great, thanks. And then my other question is that we signed up for hybrid, but we were gonna wait like a month before she comes in just to make sure that everything is going smoothly. Is that what you would advise, that or should we sign up for online only? But then if we sign up for online only and we do know that if things are going well, we wanna move her to hybrid, she doesn't take part in the orientation, that's the first week for the in-person part of hybrid. How are you going to help those kids transition from online to the hybrid model if they move to that one?
Okay, so I'll field the first part of the question. I would say, however you plan your student to start instructional learning on Monday, August 24th, or what would be their cohort day, so it could be that Wednesday, would be how I would fill out that form. So if you think that you are going to hold her at home until a month from now, I would change your option to 100% virtual online learning. And then as you start to see that they're going to transition into in-person learning, then I would make that switch. And the reason being is it's helpful for us when it comes to attendance that we know how you're classified in Infinite Campus. Additionally, for safety reasons, it helps us to where we know who to expect to be in the building at any given point in time.
Okay, that's great. And then, so I've already filled out the form, so I just fill it out one more time and you're just gonna take my last answer?
Yes.
Okay.
There are some families that have filled it out multiple times, and so what we're doing is we're taking the most recent submission and we're taking that as to mean that that's what they really want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and promote, let's see, I saw, we've got Luke Laudeman, looks like.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was wondering if we're gonna be able to be grouped with like friends and cohorts when they figure that out. If we're doing like hybrid or.
Yes. So what I would say for right now is how we're going to handle any switches in cohorts is going to be if there's a medical, childcare, or carpool need. Until we get this kind of up and running and going, if there is another option for families, we will definitely open that up to make a switch. But for right now, we have to kind of limit the number of times in which we're switching because it's really important that we get these cohorts put together and released to families.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to clarify one thing that Dr. Johnson said. I think, Dr. Johnson, people are thinking that you meant that even online students will have to come into school to do their labs. But I just want to clarify for parents, if you are doing the online version, your student does not need to come in to do labs. Teachers will provide an alternative for your student to do at home. If your child would like to come in on lab days to do the lab in person, they may do that. It is not required. No student is required to come to school at all until we're through this. They can participate in the 100% virtual option, and that goes for lab days as well.
Okay, Bobby, Alt, there you go.
Hi, thank you. I know that there will be a lot of opportunities for the kids to connect within the cohorts. I was wondering, would it be possible, would it be a good idea for the parents to, within those cohorts, to get the opportunity to communicate maybe once a week just to share best practices, or, you know, if anybody needs anything or something along those lines?
Yes, I think that that is a great idea. One of the great platforms that parents are doing that in is on Facebook. So I would highly recommend exploring that. There are a number of groups that just started for remote learning, for hybrid at STEM. So I would definitely explore that option first. That way you guys can communicate in that platform that is separate from STEM. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
And then I just wanted to get an idea. Do you guys have the preliminary numbers on what percentage of all students are going to be choosing the hybrid model, and what percentage of the students are choosing 100% virtual at this time?
So we're still waiting on probably about 600 families to finish filling out the academic planning form, a sign-up form. So until that time, I wouldn't be able to provide you with any accurate information until we at least have more of that number that we're still missing.
Okay.
Nicole, I am going to interrupt because we are now at 7:05, and I have to allow this hardworking, exhausted team to go do some of their family things for a moment before we're back tomorrow at 7. So team, thank you all for being here to answer the questions. Parents, if we did not get to your question, I am so sorry. Please spend a minute right now and put the answer into the chat, or the question into the chat box, and I can assure you we will get that answer to you. And if you would like to send your question with a response email address, we can get that question specifically to your email. Otherwise, we will be sure that we put your questions on our frequently asked question document, and we will get that as well as this presentation with the links to all of the forms that Nicole discussed today. Remember, those links are all in this presentation. We'll get all of that information posted to our website this evening, right, Nicole?
Yes.
This evening, and you can go on there to take a look at the presentation, all of the forms. We thank you so much for attending tonight. I'm sorry we did run a few minutes over. Thank you all for the wonderful questions. And again, we cannot thank you enough for your grace and your patience during this time, as we are all doing the best we can to make sure that our students have an incredible opportunity to learn in a new, fun, exciting way this fall. So thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and please take a minute right now to put those questions into the chat box. Thank you all.
You can also use that feedback form that is on our website. I'm still getting a lot of. Just give it probably about another minute for any more chat submissions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this down. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you all.